Very good morning and welcome to all the viewers out there joining us for this pre-recorded show. We are recording early doors on Saturday morning for the Sunday meeting at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth, where we have a 10-race program, and lovely to be chatting to Graham Hawkins, who will be guiding us through the 10-race program. Firstly, good morning, Graham, and then secondly, looking at the card, it's one of those cards where you could get some fancied horses or it could go pear-shaped.
It could go pear-shaped. It's the final round of the winter series. I think the Pocket Power Stakes does look a match between Rapidash and Pacaya. The fillies equivalent is quite open. I've taken a chance here and there. I've gone into the Lion's Den and gone with the pick 6 as my suggested bet. I probably need my head read, but who knows, we might just get it right.
Well, one of the days we're going to get it right, and that day when Graham gets it right, hopefully you get the entire lot. Right, a 10-race program, so let's get straight into the action. The first race, 11:45. Now, this is for the youngsters with number 1, Bella Vista, your current odds-on favourite at 8-10, number 2 at 5-2, and then it's 10-1 and bet to the rest. Now, Graham, looking at the first race, the betting indicates a match race, but you were just mentioning about Bella Vista's debut run. She's still got to learn and improve from that.
Yes, she showed a lot of promise on debut, and she's obviously out of that wonderful race mare, Bella, but she was not well behaved on debut, and that concerns me a little bit. So I'm looking to see improved temperament, so obviously you've got to watch her go to the gates. If she plays around too much, she could be vulnerable. With the expected improvement, although there are many first-timers in this race, so it's difficult to make a reasoned selection, but the form points to Bella Vista. I think both numbers 12, Ship and Darney, and 14, Waldcraft, have got plenty of scope for improvement, and obviously there's very early healthy market respect for Candice Bass-Robinson's runner, number 2, Rockapina. But the outcome could depend on how Bella Vista behaves in the preliminaries.
Well, it comes down to watching the runners in the preliminaries, the parade ring and the canter past, and as an odds-on favourite, you the viewer, you'll make up your mind and you'll decide if you're going head-on or you're going to wait for a later race. On to race number 2, where Richard Ferree and Paddy Crayer team up with the US of A, and this individual's knocking on the door, ready for success. Number 7, Boundless Energy, the unknown, the first-timer, Craig Zaki for the Bass-Robinson combination. That is at 3-1, and then you can get 6-1 and bet to the rest. Graham, let's start off with the US of A from the Paddy Crayer stable. Of course, Richard Ferree aboard, and he's just chewing into that lead.
Absolutely, and a bit sharp in the market for me, 14-10, but is knocking now very loudly at the door. The recent progression has been good, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, so a win is imminent. But 7, Boundless Energy, R1 million purchase, 2-year-old by Vercingetorix, not going to have to be too good on debut to win this. Receives 3 kilograms from the US of A. This is an ordinary maiden plate, it's not an open maiden plate. Interestingly, if you go back in the form, the collateral form lines, approach shot in the US have met on a couple of occasions, and the score is 1-1. So approach shot has the ability to beat the US of A, but I think the recent improvement shown by the US of A seems to suggest that he's the right one of the raced horses. You can't completely ignore approach shot, you can't ignore Einstein or Cosmic Rhythm, but of the raced runners, number 3, the US of A, does appear to be the pick, but you've got to have healthy respect for the newcomer, number 7, Boundless Energy. So from a bipod perspective, although it's not my suggested bet, I would include numbers 2, 3, and 7.
That'll take us on to race number 3, which will be the opening leg of the place accumulator, being a 10-race program. Now take note of the weight structuring here with number 7, Ice Rain, the current 12-10 favourite, 60.5 kilograms on the back. Number 1, Glee Club, Richard Ferree for Greg Enyon, 58.5, and then number 3, Enchanting Choice with the 60 kgs. And then, Graham, there's a few horses at the bottom end of the scale with a lower weight. What do you make of race number 3, and starting off with number 7, Ice Rain, who the stable have had a tremendous trot at the moment?
Yes, they are having a good run, the Andre Nel stable. It's an interesting race. It's quite a typical Class 4 fillies mares handicap, 1,600 metres. So yes, you always have the potential for an upset. But here I'm looking at the form runners to fight it out. Ice Rain, as you say, is in the form of her life. She's won her last 2. But it's interesting when you go back to when Glee Club won her maiden. She beat Ice Rain. I know that was a while back. That was way back in September. But Glee Club hasn't lost her form and receives a bit of weight now from Ice Rain. So I tend to be in the camp of #1 Glee Club. Richard Fourie again, but I think this time fair value at 5-2. Drawn in pole position, which must be an added advantage over the fact that Ice Rain is drawn in gate 7. So I would be inclined to lead towards Glee Club ahead of Ice Rain, but nothing much to choose between them. Then I can't believe how badly Enchanting Choice ran last time. We quietly fancied her to follow up on a victory over Philosopher. She ran no kind of a race at all. She was gone 300 meters out. There was absolutely nothing. She was running on empty. She's capable of better than that, but you perhaps can't rely on Enchanting Choice. So I'm looking for the winner to come from one of #1 Glee Club or 7 Ice Rain. Healthy respect for Enchanting Choice. But yes, interestingly, we chatted about Bella Vista in the first. Bella's got 3 coins here, but her post-maiden run was not great. So I'm going to sit on the fence with 3 coins. Could be an upset, but I'm looking for a form result.
There we go. Graham Hawkins looking for a form result in race #3. And then moving on to the opening leg of the pick 6, which is race #4. No doubt Graham will be looking for a form result here because he'll be opening the batting with the pick 6 with a banker of #6, which is Song of the Moon, and also ending with the banker. So we'll get to that a bit later on. The betting suggests that #6, Song to the Moon, is 4-1 with #7, Mr. Belvedere, and also #12, Sound of the Sea. So we've got 3 joint favourites at 4-1. But Graham, you're putting all your eggs in one basket with #6, Seanville for Justin Snaith, and you want to hear Song to the Moon's name being called into the winner's enclosure.
Yes, obviously it's a bit of a liberty to banker in this race, but there's some competitive races later on, and although there may be 2 ways of playing the pick 6, going wide in this race and then bankering to the moon and back is a very short price in a wide open race. If he fluffs his lines, then any kind of result can be expected in that race. And then take another perm, taking a chance here, and then bankering, So you've got the options, but I'm going to be looking to beat to the moon and back later on. But I might take 2 perms where I cover here, banker to the moon and the back, and then the other way around. Sound of the Sea, 2-year-old from a wide draw, obvious claims on form, but I think he's going to face quite a tough task. So I'm looking for Song to the Moon to step up. Last run was its first after being gelded. Ran a fair third over 1,200 meters behind Tambourine Man. Was giving quite a lot of weight away to Tambourine Man. That was an open maiden, was giving about 5.5 kilograms to Tambourine Man. So it wasn't a bad effort, not a great effort, but it wasn't a bad effort. This is not a strong maiden race. Mr. Belvedere has also recently been gelded. His first run back was a good second behind Prince of Tibet. Prince of Tibet had been struggling to get his act together, so that form still needs to be tested on the evidence of that form, and that's why I'm a little suspect, because Monkey Puzzle suddenly showed improvement in that race, so he needs to confirm that improvement. And of course Champanel is coming along the right way. Cliff Swallow is a scratching. So I'm in the camp of #6, Song to the Moon. In my main pick 6 perm, I'm going to take my chances and banker #6, Song to the Moon. In a cover perm, I'm going to go wider here and banker to the moon and back, all the while bankering Fly Futura in the last leg, so we'll get to that a little later on. So my clear first choice is Song to the Moon. I think we'll get a good run for our money, but of course you've got to respect Richard Fourie and Glenn Cotson, but Sound of the Sea might find it tough from that wide draw.
There we go, a banker 6 in the opening leg of the pick 6. You take your chances. If you're not sold on the 6, then you can add your 2 or 3 runners. Moving on to race #5, which will be the halfway stage of the day, being a 10-race program. #1, Inamorere, is 7-2, along with #7, Solomon Seal. #3, Tyrion Lannister, 4-1, and then we're looking at 6-1 and better the rest. #5, My Golly Molly at 6-1, and then it's 10-1 after that. Looking at a horse like #1, Inamorere, Richard Fourie for the Justin Snaith team. He's a horse who's done well for a couple of the punters.
He has, and look at Richard Fourie's record aboard this horse. He's ridden him 5 times for 3 wins and a second, so Richard Fourie certainly gets on well with him. Drawn in pole position is clearly an advantage as well. I've made this a 4-cornered contest between #1, Inamorere, 3, Tyrion Lannister, 5, My Golly Molly, and 7, Solomon Seal. We need to remind our viewers and our racing fans that we're on the winter course from Sunday. So we're done with the summer course, we go to the winter course. And that's interesting because it's obviously a slightly different configuration. It's got a shorter straight. The rains haven't come in a meaningful way. There's been a bit of rain around. The ground has softened up. We saw unexpected rain during the last meeting, which seemed to play havoc with some of the results. That was a meeting to forget. And I mentioned the rain because, and I mentioned the winter course because my golly molly is interesting. He won the Langerman as a 2-year-old, beating Schleschlui on the winter course when the going was bottomless. So if the going softens up further, then I think my golly molly, who showed signs of improvement when fourth to Coastal Commander last time and has dropped down the ratings to a degree, I think my golly molly becomes quite a player in this race, so you can't leave him out. His stable companion, well, we've been on Solomon Seal and waiting for his second career victory for a while now, but his last 2 seconds have been good. San Pedro, decent second behind San Pedro, good second behind Tyrion Lannister. Got the measure of Tyrion Lannister at the weights this time. Tyrion Lannister kind of fluffed his lines last time out, but I'm expecting better from him. So I'm going to be out with the washing if the winner doesn't come from numbers 1, 3, 5, or 7. I'm expecting the winner to come from one of those. Not that there are runners outside of that quartet that haven't got chances. Future Turn, Scalini could bounce back, Magic Verse. There are others. There always are. The Cape Town fields are very competitive, but I'm going to rely on those 4. I'm very interested to see how my golly molly goes, but I guess Solomon Seal would be my top choice.
Well, some very important information there. As you know, the dynamics can change when it comes to the winter course, the summer course, and obviously the going and that. So some food for thought. Keep a close eye on the winter course nowadays. As we step on the gas to race number 6, where number 1, To the Moon and Back, is the ruling favourite at 14 to 10. But how much confidence can you go in with a horse who hasn't won for quite a while? Number 4, African Torrent at 9 to 2. And number 5, Jovial. And number 7, Eternal Optimist at around 7 to 1. Now, just chatting off air, Graham, number 1, To the Moon and Back. Obviously, Richard Free aboard at 14 to 10, but there could be chinks in his armour with that long break between victories.
He's got quite a lot in his favour, and he's got quite a lot against him. And this is one of the critical races on the card. You know, how you play this race is going to determine whether you're up or down on the day, because To the Moon and Back has got all the right form. He meets a limited field. There's not much to get excited about amongst the balance. But if he fails, then any kind of result can be expected. So, like I said earlier, I'm probably going to take 2 pick 6 perms. The one that will be shown on screen has the field in this race with Song to the Moon at Banker. But the cover will go wider in the first leg and Banker To the Moon and Back here. What has he got in his favour? Well, Richard Free, obviously. Drawn Gate, 1, obviously. Dropping down the ratings. And the fact that he's only had 2 starts previously for Des McLaughlin. Now, Des McLaughlin's stable has been ticking along very nicely. So the horse was sidelined from November to March. He changed stables after his run in November. 2 runs for Des McLaughlin. 4th to Radicchio, 2nd to Master of Paris. And the Des McLaughlin stable has been going along well. Richard Free has only teamed up with Des McLaughlin on 2 occasions for a win and a second. So there is a lot in favour of number 1, To the Moon and Back. And maybe I'm absolutely crazy to try and turn him over. But if you're looking for that, you know, the pick sixes have been playing really well in Cape Town. And we revert to the winter course, which could be in To the Moon and Back's favour because he's drawn in pole position. So it's a decision you've got to make. Do I row in completely with To the Moon and Back because the rest don't add up to much and he's got so much in his favour? Or being a Class 5 handicap over 1,800 metres, which is stretching To the Moon and Back even further, which could be to his liking, being by twice over? Or do I look for that crazy result and see the exit of many tickets? So that's why I think you've got to play the 2 perms. To the Moon and Back, I wouldn't be rushing to have a bet on the nose at those kind of odds. But he does present himself as a potential exotic bets banker, so you've got to make that choice. That's why I'm playing 2 perms. He's clearly the first choice. If anything was to beat him, I can't identify who it could be. It could be anything.
There we go. So you're going to be the judge there. You're either going to take your chances and go the field and look for the 40 to 1 to come through, which Graham is looking. And if you do get the result, that could be the turning point in the exotics. As we step on the gas to race number 7, number 2, Rainbow Lorikeet is 33 to 10. A little bit of money around for number 11, Time for Love. Once again, Richard Ferrier aboard, so the money continues to come. Number 1, Princess Izzy at 5 to 1. And then we go 6 6-1 and better. Now, Graham, just looking at your pick 6 perm, you're also taking no chances here. You're going with about 8 runners in your pick 6.
It's a highly competitive race, this. This is the final leg of the winter series for the fillies and mares, the Stormsvlei Stakes. It's interesting because if you look at the best weighted column, you could argue it's a match race between Red Palace and Gold Poker Game on ratings. But one has to say that Red Palace's recent form has not been great. And Gold Poker Game is, of those two, is the one most likely to step up. She wasn't disgraced in the Ladies' Mile when 5th, 3.5 behind Time for Love, running on nicely from the back of the field. She was drawn awkwardly on that occasion. She's drawn better today. So I'm looking for a much better run from Gold Poker Game. But again, it is the winter course, so she's got a shorter straight to which to try and weave her way through. The rest of the field that appear held on ratings are all in cracking form. So who do you leave out? Princess Izzy, Rainbow Lorikeet, Love is a Rose, My Flower Fate just failed last time, perhaps a bit unlucky. And of course, Supreme Dream and Time for Love. I think Craig Zaki will be a bit miffed that he's not aboard Time for Love again, and Richard Fourie gets the chance in Time for Love from the widest gate of all, over 1,800 metres, somewhat easier than if the distances were shorter, given that we're on the winter course. So I couldn't draw a line through any of those fillies. Who do you leave out if you tried to narrow that list? So I've gone wide. So I've gone wide in 2 legs of the pick 6 because all of those that are not as well in with Red Palace and Gold Poker Game as they might be are all in cracking form. And, you know, these results can swing around. Time for Love won the Ladies' Mile. She's got the beating of a few there, but that's taking the form literally, and it can be a bit hazardous to do that with a change of courses.
That'll take us on to race number 8, and this will be the Grade 3 Pocket Power Stakes, and this is over 1,950 metres. Now, Graham, when you look at this field, there's some quality on offer here, and obviously a horse like Pakaya, who won the Grade 3 Legal Eagles Stakes. Nice to see him bounce back into the winner's enclosure. And then you've thrown in also horse number 8, which is Rapidash. So you're looking for the Justin Snaith team to be on the boil.
I think that's the exacta. Pakaya, of course, beat Rapidash last time out. They meet on slightly better terms for as far as... no, they meet on exactly the same terms. They meet on the same terms. It's a conditions race. So Pakaya was giving Rapidash 5 kilos, and Rapidash receives 5 kilos again. But I like the way that Rapidash was closing. This is an extra 350, this is the extra 150 metres. It goes up from 1,800 to 1,950 metres. They go to the winter course from the summer course. I keep emphasising that because it's a different type of racetrack. Pakaya has to be the top choice, but I think the only danger is Rapidash. So again, I'd be out with the washing if Justin Snaith didn't deliver with either Pakaya or Rapidash. I'm confidently expecting them to run first and second. The minor placings are very much up for grabs. I guess for Future Prince ought to run a better race than he ran last time.
Then we'll move on to the final leg of the pick 6, where Graham's taken his chances. He's opened at the banker, and he'll also be closing with the banker in the form of number 4, Fly Futura. It's a 3-year-old son of Futura. And after winning the maidens, he's been third, and third out the maiden. So holding that consistent form. So I can see the stance you're taking, looking to open and close the batting with the banker, and hopeful.
Well, if I go out the first leg, I can always play the jackpot, and I can always cover Fly Futura in jackpot number 2. So, you know, when you sit down and you work out your bets and you look at the card and you say, well, yes, of course I've got to bank it to the moon and back, but then, you know, everybody's going that same path. I said the other day to Dees, you know, when you're playing on the tote, you're playing against the other players on the tote. It's a pool bet, and we've seen what the pick 6s have been paying. So clearly there are likely to be upsets, particularly with the change of track. So I'm going to row in with Fly Futura. He's only a kilo better off with All About Ronnie. All About Ronnie gets the services of Richard Fourie again, so you've got to be wary of All About Ronnie. All About Ronnie is drawn a little awkwardly, which over a mile can be tricky. Fly Futura should get the run of the race. The form since winning a maiden, and winning a weak maiden, I have to say, has been pretty decent, pretty honest. So again, I'm just taking a leap of faith. You know, when you look at the card, as I said, you've got to decide how you're going to structure your play. And I've decided that, for me, Fly Futura is the one to beat here. Radicchio, All About Ronnie, the obvious dangers, perhaps also double Olympic. But it looks as if the signs are all pointing towards Fly Futura. And quite honestly, if I got through the first 5 legs and with an upset in To the Moon, I'd be happy. I would have no second thoughts, no regrets. If I've got Fly Futura running for me and he happens to get beat, I'll say, well, I gave it a crack, I had a chance. I think whatever beats Fly Futura will win it. Of course, All About Ronnie might be that horse. We were speaking about Des McLaughlin earlier when we were chatting about To the Moon and Back. So I'm going to take my chances with Fly Futura.
Well, there you heard it from Graham. That's the name of the game. You take your chances and you hope you come through with flying colours. If not, there's always the next race to get involved in. So talking about the next race, it's race number 10. And if the guys are needing to get out of it in race number 10, I'm afraid the betting says it's 7-2 the field. So that indicates it's quite open with number 7, Surge of Power. Number 9, Night Tiger. This is at 5-1. Number 3, Escarpment, 5-1. After that, it's 7-1 and better the rest. Would you be looking to play a quartet, a swinger, an exacta? How would you put into perspective race number 10?
Well, I think firstly in the final leg of Jackpot 2, if you are playing Jackpot 2, I think you've got to run for a bit of cover here. And I think it's a lovely quartet race. Surge of Power, top of the boards, is a 2-year-old stepping into handicap company. We will see how the US of A runs earlier because he got home to beat the US of A by a head. But that was only his second start, and there's clearly plenty of upside for the son of Patala Palace. But, you know, 2-year-olds winning in maidens against older battling horses is one thing. When they come into a race like this, on far worse terms than Wait for Age, against hard-knocking horses like Night Tiger and Fort Red and Winter Pearl, I'm not saying they can't win, but they have to be vulnerable, unless they're really special. Is Surge of Power really special? Well, we'll see after the running of this race, because if he's got extraordinary talent above the norm, then he will win this race, but we can't be certain of that. So horses like Escarpment, Fort Red, Mighty Mac, Night Tiger, Winter Pearl, and even All About L. Don't forget about All About L over the page. His last 3 runs have been a little indifferent, but we could have said the same with Kelp Forest in the week, also trained by Adam Marcus. It looked like he'd gone off the boil a bit, and wow, there he came bouncing back. So if All About L, with a little bit of give maybe in the ground, was to bounce back, I wouldn't be surprised. So Surge of Power, the favourite's got it all to do. I would be inclined in my quartet to float Night Tiger. I think he's been knocking on the door. He loves this track and trip. He does his best work over 1,200 metres at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth. It's Alder Mayer's Candice Bass Robinson. He's in the betting. He's not a big outsider. Don't forget about Fort Red. Don't forget about All About L. Surge of Power, obviously one of the leading lights. Winter Pearl ran better last time, is not always consistent. Escarpment and Mighty Mac are others to consider, but there could even be 1 or 2 real lurkers that could boost that quartet dividend. But my suggested floating banker in the last leg would be number 9, Night Tiger. If you were looking to double float, that becomes a bit more tricky. Then you may have to rely on Surge of Power to hopefully run 3rd or 4th, or take a chance to go Night Tiger and All About L as a floating banker and look for that huge quartet dividend.
Well, there we go, looking for the huge dividend, and as they say, if you're looking to catch the big fish, you've got to go out there and find the big outsider. So let's see how race number 10 pans out. But thanks very much to Graham Hawkins, who we're going to bring his suggested bet up for the meeting. And as we said, an opening banker and a closing banker, but we'll leave it to you, Graham.
I think I need to be certified by trying to tip a pick 6 at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth, particularly with a change of tracks. But we're going to take our chances, and jackpots in between, etc., all there for everybody to see. The first leg, as I said, number 6, Song to the Moon Banker, going the field with To the Moon and Back. My cover perm will be going wider in the first leg and bankering To the Moon and Back. But we're going with my primary perm on screen now. So Banker 6 in the first leg. Then numbers 1, 3, 5 and 7, Inamarari, Tyrion Lannister, My Golly Molly and Solomon Seal. The field in the third leg, where To the Moon and Back dominates the betting in this Class 5 handicap. I've learnt over the time and the recent months that to banker horses in Class 5 handicaps, you're flirting with disaster, but To the Moon and Back does look the right one, might get the job done. The Stormsplay Stakes, which is the 4th leg, very competitive. As you can see, I've gone wide. Then in the penultimate leg, the Pocket Power Stakes, Pakaya and Rapidash. One of the 2 must win for us to get through. That's numbers 4 and 8. And the last leg, as we discussed in detail earlier, Sheldon, I'm taking my chances with Fly Futura.
Well, thanks very much, Graham. Thanks for joining us and giving us all the input on the card.
I'm looking forward to the first meeting on the winter track. A lot is going to be revealed.
Well, there we go. Graham Hawkins giving us the lowdowns and the high-down. Obviously, on the winter course, we'll be looking for a few results. He's made it a 4-legged pick 6, and hopefully the leg where you've gone the field there, Graham, hopefully we get that 40-1 to boost the exotic. So looking forward to the meeting on the winter course at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth.